If you're a friend of mine or you've really just been paying any attention to the tournament games I've been playing lately, then you know I've become a huge fan of Flygon lately, particularly offensive Flygon. So I figured I'd make a video talking about it. And by the way, there is like a big thunderstorm going on outside right now. I don't know if you can like hear the rain at all or anything, but if you can, hopefully it adds to like the ambiance or whatever. Anyways, I've got some replays playing in the background that are some of like the best ones or the easiest to find that I've gotten with Flygon lately, offensive Flygon, and they're all in tournaments, all against people I think are pretty good. Let's talk about why offensive Flygon doesn't see a ton of use. Well, the biggest reason would obviously be that, you know, it faces really stiff competition, and that Swampert is a rock resist that also carries a big offensive presence, and it fits on a lot more teams. You know, it is true that Flygon requires a lot more support than Swampert, but when it's given this support, it can really. By the way, this game is a great example of Magneton being awesome. Anyways, yeah, when Flygon is given the support that it needs, it performs exceptionally well, and it can be, you know, even more self-sufficient than Swampert due to the fact that it's spike immune, and it can check a lot more Pokemon too with its typing. And then it also has upside as a late game cleaner that Swampert doesn't necessarily really have. And you know, the fact that the fact that it can check so many Pokemon does not really take away from it as a late game cleaner. You know, because, you know, it's spike immune, so it's passively gaining health when it comes in to check something, and it's fast, so, you know, as long as it has any health, it's still threatening as a cleaner. You know, generally speaking, Flygon is going to want Pursuit support, Magneton support, and Spikes. But it doesn't need, you know, there's wiggle room there. But if it has all three of those, then it's really, really going to perform well. And the first team was an example of that. And there will be another replay where I use that same team. That team is awesome. Yeah. I didn't make that team. I don't know who originally did. I stole it from watching Ban Manaphy replays, but I don't know if he originally built it or if he had help or what. But yeah. Anyways, you know, you can still come up with other ways besides Pursuit to deal with Gengar or Magneton to deal with Skarm. And Flygon can actually, you know, assist a little bit in that. Like, you know, you can put HP Ghost on Flygon, especially on an Endure Salic set, which is a set that I really like from time to time. Or you could put, you know, Fire Blast on, which, you know, makes it so that Skarmory doesn't have complete free entry versus your Flygon. You know, I find where offensive Flygon really thrives is when it can assist its teammates to not have to carry the full weight of taking on certain things. Like, offensive Flygon, it's sort of a half rock resist, so to speak. It's a half of an electric check, it's a half of a fire type check, it's a half of a Metagross check, so on and so on. So if you fill the team with, you know, other halves to make a whole, so to speak, then it not only makes Flygon better, but it makes those teammates better as well. That's, you know, kind of Team Synergy 101. Something worth mentioning is that I prefer, you know, Jolly 328 speed on my Flygons pretty much 100% of the time. The reason for that is that the trend right now is that most base 100 speed Pokemon do not generally go for 328 speed. Charizard, I would say, is really the only one that pretty consistently is going to 328. Celebi almost never does. Jirachi does, but it's pretty rare. Zapdos, I would say right now is probably the least amount of timid max speed Zapdos I've ever seen. And then Mixments, it's probably, you know, about 50-50. Maybe those go 328 a little more. But those are all Pokemon that it's very important for Flygon to outspeed. You know, both for checking them defensively in the mid game and cleaning versus them in the late game. Spikes are, you know, really helpful for any Pokemon, obviously, but for Flygon in particular, it'll help, you know, really, you know, make damage stick versus Swampert and Blissey. By the way, this is a game where I lose, but I still think it's a good showcase of Flygon because it kind of single-handedly lets me get back into the game right here because it's faster than this Zapdos. It scares it out, and then I end up climbing back in. And then the end of the game, you'll see kind of one of the downsides of offensive Flygon, I'll admit. But anyways, yeah, I think people should just try getting creative and, you know, maybe consider Flygon where you might not normally and see how it does for you. That's, you know, kind of what I did. Like, I used to, like, just never ever consider Flygon. It just never came up when I was building. And then, you know, randomly I kind of decided to give it a try, and it performed really well. And, you know, my personal favorite set is just sub 3 attacks, sub EQ, Rock Slide, HP Bug. But you can use a lot of things over sub, like Protect is still good, depending on, you know, if your team needs a little extra out of Flygon defensively. Fire Blast, like I mentioned, for Scarm, and Fortress. HP Ghost, you know, still hits Claydol and Celebi reasonably, but also, you know, can surprise a Gengar. I mentioned Endure Salic. I like that a lot on Swords Dance Pass. It's pretty disgusting. Sub Salic and Sub Lychee are also options. You know, again, get creative, and maybe this mon has some untapped potential to it. This game, by the way, this is from ADVPL against Blaze. This is maybe the best showcase for it because this is a matchup that this team kind of really struggles with. You know, both Gengar and there's no spikes again. Both Gengar and Moltres on a team, so the Sutar is kind of a little overwhelmed. But you'll see with some pivoting, Flygon pretty much single-handedly ends up overwhelming this entire team. Let me see, is this... Yeah, you'll see what happens. Get Leech Seed on Tar here. I just needed to get kind of a free entry for my Swampert here to start breaking. It's a Curse Pert. Like I said, this team is amazing, and, you know, gets hefty damage off on the Gengar there, so that's huge. So even though I'm not really going to be able to use my Pursuit Tar, again, this is also a great Curse off Pert showcase this game, because it's going to really open up some holes in the team here. Yeah, I couldn't use Tar to check both Gengar and Moltres, really. So here's Flygon coming in on HP Grass, on Moltres, and threatening it out with Rock Slide. Get the 3 spikes damage on Swampert. Celebi back in, takes an Ice Beam. Ice Beam doing nothing, by the way, because Celebi is also an awesome Pokemon. More chip damage on Moltres. this is just going to be a free opportunity for Swampert to get a big hit off with Surf here. Yeah, unfortunately Swampert is pretty much dead now, but it eliminates the Tar, so that frees up Celebi pretty much completely, other than Moltres obviously. But Moltres at this point is kind of free entry for Flygon. And it gets to sub up, and now the Swampert is in danger. This EQ with Protect is not quite going to 2-hit KO. Celebi back in. I don't have Psychic on Celebi because I have Pursuit Tyranitar. But there, I just BP'd knowing that I could live any move from Gengar, and either get in T-Tar to trap it, or if it went to Moltres, then it was just going to be more free damage for Flygon. And now again, Flygon coming in. Obviously, if it gets burned there, it's pretty much over. But yeah, I get to Swampert is too low to check it now, and Gengar gets to threaten me out one more time. This makes a double to Moltres, but it doesn't matter. I can just let Celebi die. And then I have Rock Slide, as long as it hits. And then I think actually her Gengar probably didn't actually have Ice Punch, but my Tyranitar is still at 82% health, so that was how I cleaned up the game there. And Flygon just coming in over and over, forcing damage and checking Moltres defensively. So yeah, like I said, get creative. Offensive Flygon is a maybe a forgotten beast. Thanks for watching.